Here is how we will break this down so you can clearly see why olive oil at night can create such powerful and lasting changes in the senior body. First, we will explore how olive oil interacts with the brain during sleep, particularly its effect on memory consolidation, neuroplasticity, and the clearance of toxic proteins that accelerate cognitive decline. Second, we will examine the impact on metabolic health, where olive oil compounds stabilize insulin signaling, reduce blood sugar swings, and help prevent the nighttime spikes that disrupt hormonal balance and increase fat storage. Third, we will look at inflammation and pain, because for many seniors, chronic low-grade inflammation drives arthritis, joint stiffness, and even depression. And olive oil contains unique polyphenols that switch off inflammatory pathways while activating protective ones. Fourth, we will turn to muscle and bone health, unpacking how this nightly tablespoon can influence anabolic signaling, mitochondrial function in muscle fibers, and calcium regulation that keeps bones strong and prevents sarcopenia. And finally, we will bring all of this together with the gut-brain connection, because olive oil directly feeds beneficial microbes that produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and short-chain fatty acids that improve both mood and immune defense. And finally, we will bring all of this together with the gut-brain connection, because olive oil directly feeds beneficial microbes that produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and short-chain fatty acids that improve both mood and immune defense. Each of these areas is backed by scientific studies, ranging from the PREDIME trial in Spain on cardiovascular and brain health, to molecular biology research on oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol, to clinical studies on seniors who adopt Mediterranean dietary habits. Along the way, I will translate these findings into simple tools: when to take olive oil, how to pair it with other foods, and how to create a nightly ritual that makes it effortless. If you stay with me, you will not just understand the science, you will have a protocol you can apply immediately to support your brain, your energy, your joints, and your overall resilience as you age. Sleep is not simply a passive state of rest. It is an active process where the brain undergoes cleaning, rewiring, and strengthening. For seniors, this nightly repair is critical because age naturally brings a greater buildup of toxic proteins like beta amyloid, reduced neuroplasticity, and a decline in memory consolidation. Olive oil contains compounds such as oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol that act as neuroprotective agents, and when consumed at night, they align with the brain's natural repair cycle to amplify its restorative effects. One of the most remarkable processes during deep sleep is the activation of the glymphatic system, which functions like a sanitation crew, clearing away cellular debris and toxic proteins that accumulate during waking hours. Research from the University of Rochester highlighted that this system works up to 10 times more effectively during sleep. Olive oil supports this clearance by improving endothelial function and reducing oxidative stress, making it easier for blood vessels and brain pathways to flush out waste. For seniors, this means a lower risk of cognitive decline, sharper thinking, and protection against neurodegenerative diseases. Another critical aspect is memory consolidation. During sleep, especially during rapid eye movement and slow wave phases, the hippocampus and neocortex communicate to strengthen neural connections formed during the day. Polyphenols in olive oil enhance synaptic plasticity, essentially making it easier for neurons to form and retain strong connections. Studies in the journal Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience have shown that diets rich in extra virgin olive oil improve memory performance in older adults, directly linking this simple food choice to better cognitive health. You may have noticed how after a poor night's sleep, you feel foggy, irritable, and less capable of focusing. What is happening is that your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making hub, becomes less efficient, while your amygdala, the emotional center, becomes overactive. Olive oil indirectly helps regulate this balance by providing monounsaturated fats that stabilize cell membranes and by supporting neurotransmitter production. This makes it easier to maintain calm emotional control and sharp focus even after stressful days. An equally fascinating piece of the puzzle is how olive oil affects neuroinflammation. Low-grade inflammation in the brain is a silent driver of age-related cognitive decline. Oleocanthal, a compound unique to extra virgin olive oil, has anti-inflammatory effects comparable to ibuprofen. By taking a tablespoon of olive oil at night, you are essentially delivering a natural anti-inflammatory agent that calms microglial cells, the immune cells of the brain, so they can repair instead of overreact. This shift can protect against brain fog, reduce headaches, and sustain emotional resilience. There is also evidence that olive oil influences neurotransmitter balance, particularly acetylcholine, which is vital for learning and memory. Some animal studies have shown that diets enriched with olive oil preserve cholinergic function, which otherwise declines with age. For seniors, this translates into improved ability to learn new skills, remember names, or maintain sharp language processing. Imagine going to bed with a tired brain and waking up with a mind that feels lighter and more capable. That is the neurochemical gift of aligning olive oil with sleep. The final dimension is sleep quality itself. Olive oil helps stabilize blood sugar levels, preventing the dips and spikes that often cause seniors to wake up at night. A steadier metabolic profile means deeper, uninterrupted sleep, which further strengthens the brain's repair cycle. Research on Mediterranean dietary patterns supports this, showing that those who consume olive oil regularly experience more restful sleep compared to those who rely on processed fats. When you look at the brain as an energy-hungry, constantly adapting organ, the timing of nutrition becomes as important as the nutrition itself. A tablespoon of olive oil at night is not just fuel, it is a signal that directs your brain toward healing, cleaning, and rewiring. For seniors who want to protect memory, reduce the risk of neurodegeneration, and wake up clearer and calmer, this is a powerful yet simple protocol that science strongly supports. Metabolism is the foundation of energy, weight control, and overall vitality. Yet it is also one of the first systems to weaken with age. Seniors often experience insulin resistance, fluctuating blood sugar, and slower fat metabolism, which not only contribute to weight gain but also increase the risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Olive oil, particularly when taken at night, plays a unique role in restoring balance to these systems by regulating hormones, stabilizing glucose, and supporting cellular energy. When you consume olive oil before bed, its monounsaturated fats help slow the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. This means that instead of experiencing spikes and crashes in blood sugar during the night, your body maintains a steady level. Research published in Diabetes Care showed that diets higher in monounsaturated fats improve insulin sensitivity, which is the ability of cells to properly respond to insulin and absorb glucose. For seniors, this stability is crucial because nighttime glucose fluctuations are linked not only to poor sleep, but also to accelerated aging of the cardiovascular system. Another way olive oil impacts metabolism is by reducing the burden on the pancreas. Over time, the pancreas struggles to produce enough insulin when exposed to constant high carbohydrate loads. A nightly tablespoon of olive oil reduces this strain by supporting a gentler metabolic curve. Think of it as giving your pancreas a break so it can function more effectively the next day. This effect compounds over time, creating long-term resilience in metabolic health. Have you ever noticed how fatigue and cravings hit harder after a night of poor sleep? This is because unstable blood sugar at night elevates cortisol, the stress hormone, which then drives the desire for quick energy foods like sugar and refined carbs. Olive oil counteracts this by keeping cortisol lower and helping leptin, the satiety hormone, send stronger signals. In practical terms, this means you are less likely to wake up hungry in the middle of the night and more likely to wake up with steady energy and reduced morning cravings. The impact of olive oil on fat metabolism is also worth noting. Research from the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that oleic acid, the main fatty acid in olive oil, promotes the activation of fat-burning pathways in the mitochondria. For seniors, this means that a nightly tablespoon of olive oil can subtly shift the body from storing fat toward using it as energy. Over weeks and months, this helps reduce visceral fat, the dangerous fat around organs, which is strongly linked to inflammation and cardiovascular risk. There is also the gut factor. Metabolism is not controlled by hormones alone, but also by gut bacteria that influence how efficiently we extract and store energy. Olive oil nourishes beneficial microbes like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, which in turn produce short-chain fatty acids that improve glucose regulation and reduce inflammation. A study in Nutrients showed that olive oil supplementation increased the diversity of gut bacteria, which is a strong predictor of metabolic health and longevity. Sleep quality and metabolism are deeply interconnected. By consuming olive oil before bed, you not only improve blood sugar stability but also reduce nighttime awakenings, which are often driven by hypoglycemia. Better sleep then improves insulin sensitivity further, creating a positive feedback loop where the brain and body reinforce each other. Seniors who adopt this ritual often notice not only reduced cravings and more energy, but also easier weight control without the feeling of restriction. If this insight resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here we break down the science into simple tools you can use every day. Whether your goal is to strengthen your brain, protect your body, or simply age with greater energy and confidence. By now you can see that olive oil at night is not just a dietary tweak. It is a metabolic strategy that stabilizes hormones, supports the pancreas, and trains your body to shift from breakdown toward balance. For seniors, this can mean the difference between waking up tired and inflamed or waking up steady, strong, and ready to move with vitality. The gut and the brain may seem like two separate systems, but science now shows they are in constant conversation. This communication, often referred to as the gut-brain axis, shapes not only digestion, but also mood, memory, and immunity. For seniors, keeping this pathway healthy is crucial, because as we age, the gut microbiome becomes less diverse, the intestinal lining weakens, and inflammatory signals begin to rise. Olive oil at night offers a way to nourish this gut-brain dialogue and strengthen the foundation of both physical and mental health. Olive oil contains polyphenols that act as prebiotics, feeding the beneficial bacteria in the gut. These bacteria, in turn, produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which help reduce inflammation and improve communication between gut cells and the nervous system. Research in Nutrients has shown that older adults who consume more extra virgin olive oil have greater microbial diversity, which is one of the strongest predictors of resilience and longevity. By giving the gut this fuel before bed, you set up a more stable environment for the overnight repair process, when both the brain and gut are most active in restoration. One of the most fascinating effects is how gut microbes influence neurotransmitters. A large percentage of serotonin, the chemical linked to mood and well-being, is produced in the gut. Olive oil supports the bacteria that generate serotonin and also stabilizes the gut lining so that this production remains balanced. For seniors, this can mean better emotional stability, fewer mood swings, and a greater sense of calm. It is not uncommon for people who adopt nightly olive oil to report feeling less anxious and more centered over time, which directly reflects this gut-brain communication. Have you ever noticed how digestive discomfort can cloud your mind? That feeling of bloating or indigestion sends stress signals through the vagus nerve, altering how the brain processes emotions and focus. Olive oil helps by reducing irritation in the gut lining and by calming inflammatory pathways that overactivate the immune system. This not only improves digestion, but also reduces the mental fatigue that often accompanies digestive issues. Olive oil also helps the gut regulate the immune system. Around 70% of immune cells reside in the gut waiting to respond to threats. When the gut lining weakens with age, the immune system can become overactive, creating chronic inflammation. The antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds in olive oil strengthen the gut barrier, making it less permeable and preventing unnecessary immune activation. The result is a calmer, more balanced immune system that protects without overreacting. Another underappreciated effect is on sleep. The gut microbiome directly influences the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep cycles. By supporting healthy bacteria, olive oil indirectly improves melatonin signaling, which means deeper, more restorative rest. For seniors who struggle with insomnia or frequent night waking, this can be a powerful way to restore consistent sleep patterns without relying on medication. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that Mediterranean dietary patterns enriched with olive oil improved both mood and cognitive performance in older adults. The scientists concluded that this was partly due to the gut-brain connection, where better microbial diversity and reduced inflammation translated into improved mental clarity. This underscores the idea that when you feed the gut, you are truly feeding the brain. When you consider all of this, olive oil at night becomes more than a nutritional choice. It becomes a way to reset the communication between gut and brain, ensuring that mood, focus, immunity, and digestion work in harmony. For seniors seeking a natural method to improve both mind and body, this is a habit grounded in science and rich with benefits. One of the most concerning effects of aging is the gradual loss of muscle and bone strength. Sarcopenia, which is the decline of muscle mass and function, and osteoporosis, the weakening of bones, together create a dangerous combination that makes seniors more vulnerable to falls, fractures, and long recovery times. The encouraging news is that science now shows diet, including something as simple as nightly olive oil, can directly influence the signaling pathways that preserve both muscle and bone health. Muscle tissue is highly dependent on mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside cells that generate energy. As we age, these mitochondria become less efficient, leading to muscle weakness and slower recovery after exertion. Olive oil contains oleic acid and polyphenols that improve mitochondrial biogenesis, essentially encouraging the body to create new, more efficient mitochondria. Studies in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging have shown that older adults consuming Mediterranean diets enriched with olive oil maintained greater muscle strength compared to those on lower-fat diets. By aligning olive oil intake with the body's nightly repair process, you are fueling mitochondria when they are most active in regenerating muscle tissue. Muscle health also depends heavily on anabolic signaling, the process that tells the body to build rather than break down muscle fibers. Olive oil influences this by reducing chronic inflammation, which otherwise interferes with muscle-building hormones like insulin-like growth factor 1. By calming the inflammatory environment, olive oil allows these signals to work more effectively, helping to preserve muscle mass even in the absence of intense exercise. For seniors, this can mean the difference between steady decline and maintaining functional strength for independence. Bone health, too, is directly influenced by olive oil. One of the overlooked aspects of bone metabolism is oxidative stress, which accelerates the breakdown of bone cells called osteoblasts. Polyphenols in olive oil act as antioxidants, protecting osteoblasts and supporting bone-building activity. In fact, research from the Endocrine Society has found that individuals who consume more olive oil have higher levels of osteocalcin, a hormone linked to stronger, healthier bones. This is not just theoretical. In clinical trials, seniors consuming olive oil experienced improved bone density markers, suggesting that this nightly ritual could be a safeguard against osteoporosis. Have you ever noticed how stiffness and muscle weakness often seem worse in the morning? This is because overnight the body repairs tissues, but if inflammation and oxidative stress are too high, the repair process stalls. A tablespoon of olive oil before bed supplies the raw materials and protective compounds needed to complete the repair cycle effectively. Over time, this nightly support leads to stronger fibers, more flexible joints, and bones that are better able to resist micro-damage from daily movement. An additional layer of protection comes from olive oil's effect on calcium regulation. Calcium is essential for bone strength, but without proper balance, it can also accumulate in arteries and soft tissue, creating health risks. Olive oil helps the body channel calcium into the bones by improving vitamin D receptor sensitivity and reducing vascular calcification. This ensures that calcium strengthens skeletal tissue rather than hardening blood vessels, creating a dual benefit for bone and cardiovascular health. For seniors who feel discouraged about muscle loss or worried about fractures, it is important to understand that decline is not inevitable. By combining nightly olive oil intake with light strength exercises and adequate protein, you can slow, and in some cases even reverse, the trajectory of muscle and bone loss. This is a simple science-backed habit that gives the body the raw tools it needs to remain resilient. If these insights are helping you, I encourage you to subscribe and join this growing community. Here we explore practical, science-driven strategies that keep your brain, body, and energy strong well into your later years. Together, we are building a toolkit for healthy longevity that anyone can apply. When you think about olive oil, do not just picture it as a cooking fat. Think of it as a nightly message to your muscles and bones: stay strong, stay active, and stay youthful. The science is clear. This small action can translate into greater independence, less pain, and a more confident body as you age. We have now seen how something as simple as a tablespoon of olive oil at night can influence nearly every system in the senior body. It is not just a healthy fat, it is a biological signal that tells your cells, your brain, and your gut to shift into repair and resilience mode. This nightly ritual taps into the brain's ability to clear toxins, supports stable metabolism, calms inflammation, strengthens muscles and bones, and restores the gut-brain connection. Each of these benefits is supported by science, and together they form a powerful blueprint for healthy aging. Think about what this means in everyday life. Instead of waking up stiff, foggy, and craving sugar, you wake up feeling clearer, steadier, and stronger. Instead of worrying about memory lapses or constant joint pain, you are reinforcing your body's natural defense systems night after night. Olive oil is not a quick fix, but over weeks and months, it rewires your biology in ways that are difficult to reverse, which is exactly why researchers describe its effects as long-term adaptations rather than temporary changes. The key idea here is that aging is not simply about decline, it is about the choices we make daily, especially the ones that align with the body's natural rhythms. Nighttime is when the body restores itself, and olive oil enhances this process at every level, from mitochondria generating energy, to neurons repairing connections, to the gut microbiome creating balance. This is why Mediterranean populations that center their diet around olive oil show longer lifespans and higher quality of life, even into advanced age. So what is the practical tool you can try starting tonight? It is simple. Take 1 tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil before bed. Pair it with a small piece of whole food if you prefer, perhaps a slice of cucumber, a few olives, or half a tomato, but keep it light so the body can focus on repair rather than digestion. Make it a ritual, a nightly signal that you are investing in your health, not just for today, but for years to come. If you want to push this further, combine this habit with gentle evening movement such as stretching, a regular bedtime, and a calm environment before sleep. Together, these create the perfect conditions for olive oil's compounds to do their work, stabilizing blood sugar, reducing inflammation, and feeding the gut bacteria that keep your brain and body resilient. It is a small action with outsized benefits, and the earlier you start, the greater the rewards compound over time. I encourage you to reflect on this. What would it feel like to wake up tomorrow with less stiffness, clearer thinking, and steadier energy? That possibility is not far-fetched. It is grounded in neuroscience, nutrition, and human biology, and it is available to anyone willing to take this simple step. If you found value in today's discussion, I invite you to join this community by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who could benefit. Every week we explore science-backed tools for building stronger brains, bodies, and lives, practical strategies that you can apply immediately. Together, we are not just learning, we are creating a movement of healthier, sharper, more resilient seniors who are aging with strength rather than decline. So tonight, as you prepare for bed, remember that a single tablespoon of olive oil is more than a nutrient. It is a signal of renewal. Try it and let your body show you the power of aligning simple habits with the science of longevity. Inflammation is often described as the silent fire within the body. For many seniors, it shows up as stiff joints, morning aches, swollen fingers, or even persistent fatigue that never seems to go away. What science has revealed is that chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the central drivers of aging, sometimes referred to as inflammaging. The beauty of olive oil, especially when consumed at night, is that it directly targets these inflammatory pathways and creates an internal environment where healing and repair can take place. One of the most powerful compounds in olive oil is oleocanthal, which has been shown to act in a way similar to ibuprofen, but naturally and without the side effects of long-term medication use. Researchers from the Monochemical Senses Center discovered that oleocanthal reduces the activity of inflammatory enzymes called cyclooxygenases, or COX enzymes. These enzymes are the same ones that pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory drugs target. By quieting them, olive oil effectively turns down the volume on the body's inflammatory response, which is especially helpful during the night when tissues are repairing themselves. For seniors dealing with arthritis or joint pain, this is particularly important. Inflammation in the joints not only damages cartilage, but also disrupts sleep. By consuming a tablespoon of olive oil before bed, you are essentially giving your body a nightly dose of natural joint support. Over time, this does not just reduce pain, it preserves mobility, making it easier to stay active and independent. Imagine waking up with less stiffness and being able to move more freely throughout the day. That is the tangible result of combining olive oil with the body's nightly repair cycle. Inflammation is not limited to joints. It also affects the brain, the blood vessels, and even the skin. Systemic inflammation accelerates cognitive decline, increases the risk of cardiovascular events, and can make the skin look older and less elastic. Polyphenols in olive oil counteract this by neutralizing free radicals and protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage. This is why many Mediterranean populations, where olive oil is a dietary staple, show lower rates of chronic diseases and often retain vitality well into old age. Have you ever noticed how inflammation feels like heaviness, whether in the body or in the mind? That sensation of dragging energy is partly due to inflammatory molecules circulating in the blood and altering the way your mitochondria produce energy. Olive oil interrupts this by calming the immune system and allowing mitochondria to function more efficiently. In practical terms, this can mean not only less pain but also more energy during the day because your cells are no longer weighed down by the constant pressure of inflammation. Another overlooked benefit is how olive oil interacts with the gut lining. Chronic inflammation often begins in the gut when the protective barrier becomes more permeable, allowing unwanted particles into the bloodstream. Olive oil strengthens this barrier by supporting beneficial gut bacteria and by reducing oxidative stress in the intestinal lining. A stronger gut lining means fewer inflammatory signals sent throughout the body, which can translate into better digestion, less bloating, and a calmer immune response. Research from the University of Barcelona has shown that older adults who consume extra virgin olive oil regularly have lower levels of C-reactive protein, a key marker of systemic inflammation. This is not a short-term effect, it builds with consistency. The nightly ritual of olive oil essentially trains the body to remain in an anti-inflammatory state, night after night, compounding into long-term benefits that protect joints, the brain, and the cardiovascular system. When you look at inflammation as a root cause of pain, aging, and disease, the idea that something as simple as olive oil can act like a switch is empowering by calming overactive immune responses. And giving your body a nightly reset, you are not only reducing discomfort, but actively slowing down one of the main accelerators of aging. For seniors seeking natural relief, this is a tool that is both scientifically sound and profoundly practical.